Every good product has its cheap copy. But when it comes to gaming mice, it's actually the other way around. We now live in a world where copies cost only a quarter of the price, and they outperform the original product in pretty much every aspect. So if you've always wanted to own either a GPX or a Finalmouse, you're absolutely gonna have to watch this video because I'm gonna show you a product that is genuinely worth your money. Before we get into any of that though, I do want to mention that I've bought all of these mice myself, so as always, my opinions are fully my own. And you should also definitely hit the subscribe button and the notification bell right next to it if you're at all interested in mouse reviews. When I saw that the Frostlord was going to be the last ULX that Finalmouse is going to make, I had to check out if they have even improved their mouse over all of these years. And since it's been almost 8 years since the Finalmouse Air 58 launched, it is absolutely insane to me that the build quality of this thing is worse than it. And no, I didn't just get a faulty unit, I asked other reviewer friends as well that received their Frostlord, and their copies were even worse than mine. The mouse came with sensor rattle out of the box, which is something I have never experienced in the past 6 years. The front of the mouse is creaky. I have switch grinding, which is something I haven't seen in years. The rear hump is still more flexible than any other mouse I own. And if you just press the mouse anywhere where you're not intended to press it, it just creaks. Selling a product like this for 180 bucks is absolutely criminal, and if you are still defending Finalmouse after all of these years, you have absolutely deserved a Guinness World Record for coping. The only thing that Finalmouse has going for them is their good performance, but honestly, pretty much everyone in this space has caught up with them by now. So you might say, yeah, but the WebDriver is absolutely goated. No, it's not. Only last year did you get custom DPI stages. There is no sensor rotation inside of the WebDriver. The only LOD steps you have is 1 and 2 millimeters. And the only innovative thing that they've done in the past few years is adding tournament scroll. Okay, so the last argument that you could possibly bring, which might make the Finalmouse somehow worth it, would be weight, and that's sitting at around 40 grams for the medium version. Now here's the main competitor, which is the Incott 029 V2 Pro. This mouse costs around $40 to $50 depending on the version that you get, and it only weighs 3 to 4 grams more. You can even get a version with a slightly smaller battery and it weighs pretty much the same. But price and weight are by far not the only good things about this mouse. The build quality is so much better. There is no creaking, there is zero switch grinding, there is zero switch wobble. Yes, the side buttons can be pressed into the shell further and I don't really like that. And also the top shell is a bit on the thinner side, but unlike the ULX, this is all stuff that I don't notice in game. And I'm gonna remind you again that this mouse can be found for around 40 bucks. And right now, Incott really is doing the most with both their GPX and also their Finalmouse Medium clone. And after having owned several GPX Superlights myself and even modded the shit out of them, and also owning several Finalmice and really trying my best to actually main it, I would much rather have any of these mice any day of the week. I feel so much more comfortable playing with them. They have such great coatings, a super solid in-game feel. They even have custom Huano switches that feel absolutely great. They come with 100% PTFE adhesion pad skates. I will say that they do have skate ridges and I'm not a fan of that, but luckily the skates are not too thin. And especially on the bigger battery versions of their mice, the weight balancing isn't absolutely perfect, so I would definitely recommend you to go with the lower weight versions, and we will get further into detail about these versions later in the video. But before we get further into detail, we need to talk about WLMOUSE as well. They are definitely also a premium option, and that absolutely corresponds with their price that you can see here on screen. They do also now have versions of their mice with solid sides for both the Mini and also the medium Beast X. They even had a bigger Beast X model which was called the Max, and I don't know if it's actually available right now, but I'll put it up on screen if it is. The clicks feel absolutely amazing because this mouse actually is made out of magnesium, but that is pretty much about it. They do have great performance. Their WebDriver has also been updated and it's pretty decent, but overall in terms of in-hand feel, because I prefer the actual quality of the mouse over aesthetics, I definitely prefer the Incott mice over here. But if you like magnesium mice and you want that very satisfying click feel, I can still absolutely recommend it, especially if you get the solid side version that just doesn't annoy you here. So for the Finalmouse clone, which is the 029, they have both a Pro model and a non-Pro model. The main difference that you're gonna feel here is the battery size. The Pro model has a 500 milliamp hour battery, which is indeed mounted towards the rear of the mouse. So it's not the best in terms of weight balance. The benefit of it is that you get the 3950 sensor, but honestly, 99.9% out of all of you will never feel the difference between a 3950 and a 3395. So if you want to save some weight and also save your money, I can definitely recommend getting the normal 029, which has a 230 milliamp hour battery. This mouse apparently comes in at around 34 grams. My guess is that it's gonna be around 38 with skates installed, which would be absolutely equal to the ULX Medium. If you're looking at buying any of these mice, I definitely would recommend you getting it from AliExpress. You can also get them from Mech Keys, and I'm gonna make sure to link some stores down in the description below. But if you buy it from AliExpress, please do your own research. Prices and shipping varies heavily depending on your country, and so do import fees. But let's talk about the Incott G23 V2 Pro, which is going to be the GPX clone. As you can see here on screen, the main difference between these two mice is yet again the battery size. The weight balancing is a bit better over here on the G23, and I don't really notice it being back heavy. But the weight comes in at around 47 to 51 grams depending on what version you get. The Pro model yet again has a 3950. The non-Pro model comes with a 3395. All of their mice are compatible with the 8K receiver. If you want to use high polling, you're definitely going to have to get the big receiver, which you can either buy separately for a stupid amount of money, or you could just buy together with the mouse and save your money there. If you still don't know if you need high polling or not, definitely check out the video I've linked down in the description below on why I don't talk about mouse performance anymore. And if you want to know what I actually use, I only use 2K polling for all of my mice. And I'm even on a 480Hz OLED panel. I really do think that after 2K polling, you get very diminishing returns in terms of what you can actually feel. I've already mentioned that the coating is absolutely grippy and it works very well as soon as your hand is a tiny bit warm. I've also already mentioned that the skates do have ridges, but the skate material is incredibly high quality and it just works very well, and I wouldn't recommend replacing them. In terms of the buttons, they're actually using custom Huano switches that feel really nice to play with. They are definitely on the spammier side, so a bit more on the lighter side, not super heavy or tactile. The side buttons are about a 5 out of 10 in terms of stiffness. They're not super light, but they're also not super heavy to press. The pre-travel is rather minimal, but I will say that the post-travel is rather exaggerated and pretty unfortunate. This is objectively the only part of the mouse that just really isn't good. On the G23 V2 over here, the post-travel is managed a lot better and the side buttons are generally just good. The scroll wheel is definitely spammable on both of them. It is not super tactile, but you can feel the steps and I overall like it a lot. And the scroll click is a bit on the heavier side. It is not super spammable. And as always, here's a sound test for you guys. In terms of the WebDriver, you can find it over at incott.net/mouse. Here you can initialize your device, click on it, connect it, and then click to go in settings. The translations unfortunately are sometimes a bit off. And if your WebDriver is still in Chinese, you can set it up over here at settings, and then you can set it to English over here. You can set up your profiles up here in the top left, and over in the settings page, you can also upgrade your firmware. I've already done this and it worked very well right out the gate. Here you can change all of your keybinds. You can also set up macros if you want to. You also have these types of functionalities if you want to go cheat. And over in the performance tab, you even have XY DPI split if you want to do that. You can set up as many DPI profiles as you want. The polling rate goes up to 8K. If you have more than one performance mode, definitely set it to high performance over here. I personally use a debounce time of 0 milliseconds, but if you get any double clicking, just up it by 1 and check it out in game if you have any issues. The dormancy time is the sleep time. The wake up behavior is very good in the mouse, it just works instantly. I normally set it to 1 minute over here in order to save more battery life. The LOD has 3 different steps. I feel like the 1mm setting is very well calibrated and I have no issues on any of my mouse pads. And over in the other segment, you can turn off all of your modes here. and you can even make the receiver display your battery status. As some quick feedback to Incott here, definitely implement 0.1mm steps in terms of the LOD. And also, please include sensor rotation inside of your WebDriver. And also, here's what the receiver actually looks like. And if you have issues pairing it, here's how to do it correctly. First of all, you need to turn off your mouse and disconnect your receiver. You can then hold mouse 1, mouse 2, and mouse 3, which is your scroll wheel. I normally just do it like this. Whilst you hold those buttons, turn on your mouse and make sure that the LED inside of the mouse flashes yellow. And when it does that, you need to do a speed run and instantly plug in your receiver and it'll pair automatically in an instant. If it didn't work, just do it over again until it works. I really didn't want to talk about shape, hand sizes, and recommendations here, but I am gonna glance upon it quickly. If your hands are 18 by 9 centimeters or smaller, I can absolutely recommend you to get the 029 over here. It is very, very similar to a Finalmouse medium. It is ever so slightly wider towards the front and just like 0.5% bigger in general. It is mainly really good for a fingertip grip, and for fingertip grip you can use it with any hand size out there, but for any other grip I would recommend you the hand size that I just recommended you before. I have a 19 by 10 centimeter aggressive claw grip pincer claw grip hybrid. I can definitely get it to work, but I am nearing the edge of the mouse over here on the right side. And in terms of the G23, it is just a GPX clone. It really feels pretty much identical. The main difference that you're gonna feel is that they have a tiny bit of a deeper comfort groove over here on the main buttons, which I really do like. But the funniest part is that they even cloned the bulge that they have here from the missing side buttons that they used to have on the G Pro Wireless, which is really funny. In terms of the grip style and hand size, you can use it with any hand size, any grip style. It will work and you will get comfortable somehow, but just please keep in mind that it just feels like a potato, and it's definitely a medium-sized mouse, and it's not small at all. When comparing the GPX to the G23, you can see that the sensor position on the G23 is a tiny bit lower, and I'm not a huge fan of that. However, they do have XY split over in the DPI settings of the WebDriver, so that's pretty cool. And for the 029 compared to the ULX, it actually sits up a tiny bit higher, which I really do like, and it just feels great to play with. The way that I grip these mice with my 19 by 10 centimeter hands, when I place my thumb right between the side buttons, it actually perfectly aligns with the sensor over on the G23. And with the Incott, when I try my best to put my thumb here between the side buttons, it also aligns with the sensor very well. So overall, the sensor placement is great, and if you want to know more about sensor position, definitely check out the link down in the description below. In terms of battery life, these mice have been absolutely great. Especially with the 500 mAh batteries, these are going to last you forever, but if you get the smaller battery, be prepared to charge it every few days if you use 4K polling or higher. And now let's finally get to the conclusion. Who are these mice for? If you already own a GPX or a Finalmouse medium and you like the shapes of them, but you just don't like the mouse itself because of either the skates, the buttons, the build quality, the scroll wheel that keeps on breaking over on the GPX, or the absolute creaky mess of the ULX, I can absolutely recommend you just to buy these and replace your mouse. In my personal opinion, they feel so much better in game, and I feel like they are genuinely much more worth your hard-earned money. And ever since I picked up any of these mice, I never felt like I wanted to go back to the original despite them being twice or even 4 times the price. If you simply cannot afford any of these mice, even in a used condition, and you've always wanted to try out these shapes, definitely just get an Incott mouse instead. If any of you guys have actually swapped over from any of these mice over to an Incott mouse, or if you've been using any of these two mice for a long time and want to let us know of any issues that you have, please let us know down in the comments below. But so far, I've been having a blast with these. I have actually owned these mice for around 2 months already, and I've been using them here and then in game, and every time I picked them up I just never felt like going back to the ULX or the GPX ever again. We're gonna see if the Super Strike is gonna change my opinion on that, because I am gonna pick it up in a few days, but in terms of weight I can already tell you that I'm not gonna prefer that one. Also, do keep in mind that WLMOUSE exists. They're just a bit more pricey and definitely more of an aesthetic premium magnesium brand, but they do perform and they do work very very well, and they do have some of the best clicks in the entire industry in my opinion. Especially the solid side version is really attractive, and I kind of really want to buy one again. But yeah, that's about it for this video. Definitely make sure to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell right next to it if you're at all interested in further mouse reviews. Definitely make sure to stay tuned for my Super Strike initial impressions and also my full review. And I'll see you guys pretty soon. Peace out.